Hello, everybody. Good evening. We're gonna start singing a couple of songs. I hope you enjoy and prepare yourself for our spiritual meeting tonight. Oh, Jesus, here I am, my knees on the floor to say thank you, my Lord, for the life that come through this door. Your love is the key to change the entire world. Using these chains wisely, we will live in peace and harmony. Now I understand, helping others is helping myself. Your words now are so crystal clear. Your teachings have no frontiers. To see all this transformation, we always have to put love in action. Now I understand, helping others is helping myself. Your words now are so crystal clear. Your teachings have no frontiers. To see all this transformation, we just have to put love in action.
Someone told me long ago that life is just a long road. Sorry, mate, but life to me is way much more. No matter what it seems to be, it's always time to make a change. Sometimes all we need is only one more chance. So try, build that bridge over troubled waters, fly. If that's all that you have left to do, I want more. I want more happy sunny days. I want more happy smiles on your face. Love sparkling the eyes. Tears no more sorrows, no more bad days. Someone told me long ago that life is just a long road. Sorry, babe, but life to me is way much more. No matter what it seems to be, it's always time to make a change. Sometimes all we need is only one more chance. So try, build a bridge over troubled water, try. If that's all that you have left to do, I want more happy sunny days. I want more happy smiles on your face, love sparkling in the eyes. Tears no more, no more sorrow, no more bad days, no more cries, no more dark cold place, no more fear, no more fight. I want more happy sunny days. I want more happy smiles on your face, love sparkling in the eyes. Tears no more sorrow, no more bad days, no more cries, no more dark cold place, no more fear, no more fight. Let the sun all gone away shine, shine. Let the sun all gone away shine, 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 shine.
Never lose your faith in the brightness of your eyes. Never let the sorrow bring you down. Put a carry smile in your beautiful face. This way is much easier to go. Bright sun will shine. Let Jesus love warm you up. Live happy your life and never think of giving up. Forget about your problems, enjoy living your life. Open up your heart for love to come inside. Jesus by your side, and with Him close to you, you'll be glad and never become blue. Bright sun will shine. Let Jesus love warm you up. Live happy your life and never think of giving up. Bright sun will shine. Let Jesus love warm you up. Live happy your life and never think of giving up. Jesus by your side. This way is much easier to go. You'll be glad and never become blue.
It's always good of getting together. It's always good to do the good. I do believe the world can be better, and I know that you believe it too. Papa, Mama, brothers and sisters, let's get ready for a new dawn. This is the time for those big changes we have all been waiting for so long. Listen to this call. The time is right now. Here is the place. So let's move always good to do the good. I do believe the world can be better, and I know that you believe it too. Papa, mama, brothers and sisters, let's get ready for a dawn. This is a time for those big changes we have all been waiting for so long. Listen to this call, the time is right now. Here is the place, so let's move in a faster pace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace. Listen to this call, the time is right now. Here is the place, so let's move in a faster pace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace. Jesus waiting for us to spread His grace.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our public meeting. And we would like to thank everyone for joining us tonight. And before we start, we would like to share a couple of announcements. We would like to ask you to turn your phone notifications and find a quiet place during this time if possible. Our meeting will have a 30 minutes presentation followed by a Q&A. And following the presentation, we will also have a spiritual treatment with passes and magnetized water. So we invite you to set aside a container with water to be magnetized. We also would like to announce that our public meeting is now being retransmitted today by Continental Concafres Americas through their Facebook, and will also be retransmitted every Wednesday at 8 p.m. East by Kardec Radio through their Facebook and YouTube. And now we have a very special invitation for those who want to learn more about Spiritism. Get to Know Spiritism is a free and online course that happens every Saturday at 5:15 p.m. East. And this Saturday, December 3rd, will be our class about family. And that's an amazing topic because we will see family based on the Spiritism view. So if you want to join our study group, the registration link will be posted in the chat soon. And now, to get started, we will be doing the opening prayer, and I invite everyone to join me. So let's close our eyes if you feel comfortable in doing so. And let's elevate our thoughts to the loving image of our Master Jesus. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to be here tonight. We would like to ask your blessing and protection to start our public meeting tonight. May we be open to all the teachings that will be shared and presented by our sister this night. And we would like to ask you as well to help us to put all those teachings into practice, into our daily lives. And we ask that you stay with us today and always. So be it. So the topic of today's meeting is a very interesting one, and it's about vengeance. And it's under chapter 12, Love Your Enemies, items 7 to 10. and it will be facilitated by our friend Veronica from Winnipeg. And we would like to ask that everyone is welcome to write comments and questions in the chat, and we will be addressing those questions at the end of the talk. And now we would like to invite our tonight's speaker. Welcome, Veronica.
Hello,
Hello, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you, Larissa. Good evening. Good evening, everyone.
We are happy to have you today. And so I'm going to see you soon, okay?
Yes, thank you very much. So, hello, everybody who is listening today or the study of today. So, we are, as Larissa said, we are studying the chapter 12, Love Your Enemies. And in this section, we'll be studying the Spiritist teachings. So this is near the end of the chapter, or the end of this reflection, where we have the advice from the spirits in terms of this topic. And the items for tonight is start with a passage from the Bible from Matthew chapter 5, items 38 to 42. So it says, is the section that talks about eye for eye. So Jesus teaches that many times, and he starts like this: you have heard that was said, eye for eye, and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slap you on the right cheek, turn to them to the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. So this teaching from Jesus, it's a little bit different. It's totally different, actually, opposite to the teachings taught by Moses, right? In the Mosaic law, eye for eye, tooth for tooth was a normal practice, which means that if you are being harmed by someone, you have the right, legally, by the laws of that time, to have the same harm caused to the person who harmed you first. But Jesus came with a revolutionary idea. Is the idea to not resist to evil. So Jesus is telling us, yes, you are taught that we should get an eye for an eye. So if somebody harm you, you have the right to harm. But he's telling different. He's telling, I'm teaching a different thing. You should not resist to evil. So never return evil with evil back. And Kardec teaches here that the Mosaic law was something very rigid and appropriate for the level of the time when it was created. So when Jesus came, many thousands of years later, we are in a progress as spirits that we are able to better understand the law of love. And for many, because of our history of vengeance and harm others because we receive harm, we have a very difficult time to understand that. Many times when we are hurt, we think, and and by an unfairness, right? By something that is not fair, we didn't really deserve, we feel in the right to return the harm. And many times we are told that uh, if we see somebody doing this, so many times we might hear, "Oh, you are a coward. You should respond. What did you do about it? You didn't. You did nothing." And when we say we did nothing, I was silent. He said, "Oh, you should do something. You can be quiet, and this will let the person who harmed us, to do that again over and over again. So you are not strong enough." So we unfortunately still live in a society where we are seen as weak if we don't return evil with evil. And Jesus, more than 2,000 years ago, already told this lesson that we should not do that. And in fact, as pointed out by Kardec, there's more courage in not responding with evil. There's more courage in not returning evil than responding with evil. Because if you think about it, many times it's harder for us to control the evil that is inside of us. So the teaching here from Jesus is exactly this teaching, that we should learn to control our weaknesses, control the evil that is still inside of us, right? And sometimes we might think, well, but I don't kill anybody, right? I'm not. It's not this type of justice I'm looking for. So if we can use our justice, right, that have laws, and we can recur to the court or sue somebody in a form that is legal, right? But the question then is, what is moral, right? Maybe are we going after our rights because we want vengeance, or because we want justice? And the question is, how do we know the separation between the two, right? And we are going to talk about this in the topic about vengeance. And just to finish some of the notes that Kardec mentions about this passage about eye for eye, another point that is raised, right, in this discussion about if these do not resist to evil, though offer the other side, right? If you are struck by somebody, would that be a good thing to do? Because many people might think, well, if I don't respond, if we never respond to evil, then evil will grow and all the good people will be victims and will succumb, right, under the knees, and will be like on the ground while the evil will be uncontrolled. But Kardec reminds us of an important law, which is a divine law, which is the law of preservation. So the point is not to not respond to evil or when things are wrong. We have to respond, mainly if we are in a position to make changes for the good, right? But what he's saying is that we should not use vengeance as a way to pay back or return the evil we receive. So there's a big difference between these two forms of action. So, and he says, and I'm going to read here because Kardec's words are better than mine, right? And he is going to say, by saying, when Jesus saying, offer one's cheek when the other has been struck, he is saying in another way that one should not repay evil with evil, that people should humbly accept everything that tends to lower their pride. So one way of thinking about that is that when we are attacked, Perhaps that's a lesson we can take to scale, weight our pride, and maybe use the opportunity to develop humbleness, right? To be humble and try to lower down our pride, because many times is our pride that drives us to seek for vengeance. So it's more glorious for one to be wounded than to wound, to bear patiently an injustice than to commit one. So when we have to look aside, it would be better to suffer the pain than be the instrument that's causing the pain. That it is worthier to be deceived than to deceive, to be ruined than to ruin others. And and at the point, so the main thing is that the duel, right, the conflict, the fight, it should be condemned, right? We should not encourage that. That is not more than manifestation of pride. And Kardec reminds us, along with this law of self-preservation and for us to avoid conflicts, fight, dueling, and war, is that we have to put aside pride and we have to think about the future. So it's not about what are the gains I'm having today if I am trying to use the law of eye for an eye, but what I'm going to gain in the future. And there are many more benefits in the future if we resist to evil, to pride, to vengeance. So then we move on to the teachings from the spirits. Now the spirits are going to tell us, complement, right? Clarify this teaching. So the first message is from the spirit Jules Oliver from Paris, 1862. And the title is Vengeance. So he starts by saying, the spirit starts by saying, vengeance is one of the last remnants arising from barbaric customs that tend to be erased among human beings. So vengeance is something that will have an end. And vengeance, we'll see later, that's the opposite of charity. So like dueling, it is one of the last vestiges of those primitive customs under which humankind struggled at the beginning of the Christian era. So he's bringing back here when Jesus came on earth and taught us the law of love. Many people thought he was crazy, right? Because the law that was present was, if you get stolen, you can steal all the other person's money, right? If you get if you get betrayed by a friend, by a member of the family, you can kill them, right? So it was a very rough, very rigid rule. There was no space for forgiveness, no space for alternate types of reparation, no space for education. It was the end. And Jesus come and teach us that we should love our enemies. So that was a shock, right? It's a shock because people who are on power, they use the law in their favor. People were not in power. They never felt a chance to change because they had no voice. So with the law of love brought by Jesus, we have the proud, the the ones who are in power to reflect about their actions and if they are being just or just being looking for vengeance. And it gives to the ones who are at the border of the society, at the edge with no rights, a hope, because Jesus teaches also that his reign of love and peace is not from this world. So then even the most miserable person in the world have this hope of the future life. And at that point, pride, revenge, make force justice, it starts to not make so much sense, because any gains that we would receive from our earth laws are so immediate and not necessarily will reflect the future. So it was a difficult moment. So it was a novelty, right? A new law. And the spiritual Jews also tells that this reminiscence of our primitive life about vengeance is an indication of how much we are, as human beings, are wrong and backwards. We are still attached to our past lives. We are still attached to these evil that are inside of us, right? This animosity that we cannot, that blinds ourselves, blind us in order to see our neighbor as our brother or sister. So with this sentiment inside of us, we cannot spread love as Jesus taught. So this sentiment must never live within the heart of anyone who claims to be a spiritist, right? And we can go further. The sentiment of vengeance should not exist inside any Christian, because Jesus never, all the teachings that came from Jesus, all the Christian teachings are against vengeance, because vengeance is a seed that if we water, if we feed, it will grow in something much worse. And he gives some examples here. So how do we see vengeance in our lives, right? So first, the person who uses their pride in order to and articulate and wants a revenge or wants to act against somebody because they suffer or they were harmed. Usually this person is not, we were gonna say, oh, I just wanna give back what I received, right? So that's the normal type, right? It's not that I want the person to suffer more than I suffered, but I want just to pay back so that they can learn, right? So we use this we use this hypocritical appearance that we want to be just, we want to teach somebody a lesson so that they can improve, but inside, vengeance is never balanced, right? Vengeance can never, most of the time you want them to suffer more, right? Because we deep inside we think, well, they made me suffer, so I want them to suffer more, right? So that's the idea. That's why vengeance can never be justice, right? Fairness. And so it is a vice, right? It is a problem that is inside human beings. And most of the time, people who seek vengeance is going to act on their backs, right? You would use an opportune moment to react, to respond, and would get their victim, which was first their persecutor, on the floor. And he talks that, and it's very interesting because he mentions something about once the sight of them has inflamed their passion, anger, and hatred. So the person who cultivates vengeance cultivates inside of them passion, anger, and hatred. So all sentiments that are opposite to love, indulgence, and forgiveness. So in that case, if we reflect on who is getting poisoned, is the one who harmed or the one that wants to harm back, right? Because if we want to cause more harm, we are even poisoning us further. And they were saying here that the spirit also says sometimes we'll be very direct and to the source, right, to the person who causes harm, and we'll be directly making very clear, right, that we want a revenge and would attack in front of them face to face. But he was saying also that many times this is done behind the scenes. So not necessarily we are going to go to a physical combat with the person, but sometimes that could be creating gossips. We could get poison friends or a circle of people that will live with a person and create stories or create situations or inputting ideas that may not be true, or we might be distorting or making worse. So that means developing a bad reputation on that person. So this is also vengeance, right? So we could attack not only using our muscles, our arms, but we could harm with our words. So the spirit is bringing that to our attention so that we think, right? Because sometimes we might say, oh, yeah, they did that to me. I don't want to harm. I don't want to bad for that person. But you know what? You should not trust them, right? So we start to create these stories to create a bad reputation so that we can have our revenge so that we can gain our goals, right? So we should then, so the spirit ends this message telling us to make sure that this primitive costume, the one of vengeance, be gone in our society, be gone with the ways of days gone by. So that means because we are moving towards a world of regeneration, right? We are moving from Earth, it's going to change from a planet of expiations and tests to a planet of regeneration, which means that in the regeneration world, there will be more good than evil. We still have pain, suffering, but we will have more good than bad, which means that there won't be space for vengeance, there won't be space for hatred. So this is something that has to end. And we should watch ourselves for situations that bring us back to our primitive states of knowledge when we had this very strong of us. So we need to observe where are the areas where we should work these sentiments so that we can cultivate love instead of these negative feelings. So for each one of us, it may be different. It could be within our family. It could be a co-worker that we don't get along with, that bring us the worst that are in us. It could be in some types of activity. It could be driving. It could be playing sports. It could be in our interaction with our children, with our neighbors, with the person who is on the street asking for a change. So we need to observe our feelings and make sure we are aware of this so that we can avoid feeding these sentiments. So, and to end here, the last message, the second message from the spirits is by the spirit Fenelon from 1861, entitled Hatred. So the title is Hatred, but the spirit starts by saying, love one another and you will be happy. So here, the spirit is very clear. You will be happy if you love one another. It's not that love one another, you may be happy. No, it's you will be happy. Above all, assume the duty of loving those who inspire you with indifference. So love the ones who are indifferent to you. Those who hate you, you should love. And even those who don't treat you well. And for this, here the Spirit refers to Christ, who was the pure example that how we should love one another. Because Jesus, he was devoted to us. He only spread love, even when he was mistreated, hated, and scorned. And we can see that in the culminant point when he was at the cross. And after all the torture he suffered, he raised his eyes to the sky and said, God, forgive them because they don't know what they are doing. So Jesus knew about our so small, so child condition. So Jesus was totally knowledgeable, aware of our stage of progress because we didn't know what we were doing. And many times we still don't. Many times we still don't know what we are doing because we are blind by our historic, by the way how we are attached to our vices and to the bad that are inside of us. So many times we don't know what we are doing because we are saying we are seeking for justice, but we are seeking for revenge, right? So we should think, what are we actually meaning? What's the meaning of our own actions? And hopefully we won't be anymore those who don't know what we are doing, right? And we hope to know what we are doing very clearly. So Fenelon continues saying, even though the law of love wants us to love our brothers and sisters without distinction, it does not shield the heart against harmful conduct. So he's also making us aware that the fact that we love one another, it doesn't mean that we are not going to be hurt, because that doesn't shield our heart from harm, right? We will still have this harm, but we should see the harm we suffer, even when we love one another. We are doing our part. That is a trial. This is a trial to see if we really learn the law of love, because the law of love tells that Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say, have your neighbor loved you as you want, right? So it is a test that we can truly love everyone around us without the expectation that we will receive this love in return, right? Um, so, and then the Spirit, so it's giving this note, right, to us to remind that there will be, we will feel harmed, we will feel that we are not loved back. But he also says that that is okay because God is aware of everything. God's justice is perfect, right? Even though the law, the human law, is not perfect, and even though many people can get by causing evil without being caught, for God, they cannot be in hiding, right? So God knows and not that God is going to punish them, but their own conscience and the law of justice, which is divine, the divine law of justice, will require those who cause the evil to repair, right? To pay back in the proportional size now, because now it's not that we are seeking for vengeance because God's law is perfect. So the payback is in the right amount. But people who cause harm, including us, will have to pay back for that. And if not in this life, in the future lives. So this is the spirit then ends by saying, "My dear children, do not forget that love brings us close to God, whereas hate keeps us away from Him." Right? So love will always bring us close to God, and hatred, vengeance will just keep us away. So we need to remember to practice love through charity, which is love in action. So we have to use these resources so we can cultivate and grow inside of us the seed of love and make that seed of vengeance, hatred disappear from inside of us. And so that's the teaching for, I think these are the teachings for tonight about vengeance. And I guess we can bring Larissa back and then we can maybe do some more reflections about this topic.
Hi, Veronica. Thank you so much for your talk. It was really good to
Yeah,
listen to your reflection on this topic. I think I was in need of listening some of these words.
me too, me too. Who doesn't, right?
And I always think that what you were saying about vengeance is that once, like, if we pay back in the same coin, let's say, right? If we use the same way, we are being the responsibles, right? We are being incorrect as the other person uh, was being like with us. So
Mhm.
that's what I always keep thinking is that in that sense, right? And what you said about like we always want the person to pay back, but it's not in the fair amount, right? So that's why God is the justice, right? It's because
Yes,
and if we think that we will be um, asked about what we do, right? Like we will have to pay back as well, and we won't want to pay like more than what we actually did, right? So I
yeah,
always try to balance putting myself in the situation.
yes, yes. And we don't know the story of that spirit,
Hmm.
right? Um, and we, so as nobody knows our own story, right?
Hmm.
What are our challenges and where is how much progress we did, right? We don't know, and others did. So,
Mhm.
in Kardec even said in this text as well that it's not that we want to give our neck to the murderer, right?
Mhm.
Or it's not that we are, okay, you want to kill me, come and kill me. It's not that. We
Mhm.
should, we have this, the law of self-preservation. We want to preserve ourselves. We don't want to put ourselves in situations of harm. And that's our intelligence, right? That gives
Yep.
it to us. It's not that this is the point where we want the harm, inflict harm back to others.
Mhm.
That's what we can stop.
Yep.
Sometimes we cannot stop evil that others do to us, but
Mhm.
we can stop any evil that originates from inside ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's the self enlightenment, right? That's the process of knowing ourselves, the self knowledge, so that we can every day, every minute try to decrease, to cut out these bad habits we have.
Mhm. Yeah. So we have a couple of questions from our public today. The first one is from Marcel, and she's asking, do you think that being humble is the best way to avoid vengeance? And what tips can you give us to help overcome the evil desire for revenge?
Oh, okay. I wish if I knew and could put in practice every time, it would be good, right? Because we don't act, sometimes we don't act, but we have the thought, right?
Mhm.
And thoughts have power. So we already, so that means that we still have evil inside of us. It might be hard to hear that, right? But it is true. Because if we have a slight thought about vengeance is still there, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody who is pure of heart, they would never think in vengeance. It's good because we may not act. It's already a
Mhm.
great thing,
It's a
right? But
progress, right?
it's a progress, it's a big progress. But the next progress, what if we can notice, right? When this starts to grow inside of us and we can revert. So I think that the first thing is like being aware of ourselves, right? Before being worried about what others are thinking, I think it's more important to think about what we are thinking inside of us, right? And why, and the reasons why, the feelings we have, the actions we want to take. Do we want to take action because we think it is our right, or we want to take action because we want vengeance?
Mhm.
Right? We see that many times in marriage, right? Couples who are splitting up and they use the divorce as a way to harm each other, put
Mhm.
their children against each other, while they're both parents, right? Both have responsibilities towards their children. It is just the situation that causes hurt so much that we want to hurt back, thinking that that is going to make us feel better, but it makes it worse, right?
Yeah.
Because now we are prisoners
Mhm.
of our own emotions, right? So
Mhm.
I think being aware is the first step. And then I guess every time we have a joke, right, in our study group, but is real. It's a real joke. When we have a negative thought, like a thought of vengeance or something like that, let's try to return back with a thought that is good, right? So you say, okay, that person harmed me. I'm hurt by them, but that person is so good in certain way, right? Just thinking something that the person is good, something good in that person. Uh, and everybody has some good side.
Yeah.
There's no one, right, that has no good side. Even the criminal has some good inside them because we are all children of God, in essence, God is infinitely good. So we have this good inside of us. So I think first part is being aware. And if
That's
Marcella
awesome.
finds out, just let me know to the rest. Okay?
Let us all know. So we have another one from our friend Publio, and he is asking, it's very common to see people saying, I will treat people the same way they treat me. Or sometimes they say, if someone tell me off, I will tell him off back. It means we are still following the eye by eye law instead
Yeah.
of the law brought by Jesus Christ.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yeah. So it's like what we say is different of, it's not exactly how we feel or act, right?
Mm-hmm.
Say, oh, I just want to justice,
Yeah.
right? But I want justice for at every coin, right? Every cent.
Mm-hmm.
Just the, but how how much we as still beings going towards perfection, how can we be perfect in the measurement, right?
Mm-hmm.
In
Oh
giving
yeah.
them back perfectly, while we are so blurred by hatred, right? By hard feelings, by being hurt, by suffering. So all this blur, right? You get a blurred vision about what is actually justice,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's why we have a court, right? The justice system is like, is somebody impartial, right? The judge and the witnesses and whatever. So those are all people that is supposed to be neutral in the side, so that they can make a judgment that's unbiased.
Mm-hmm.
But we have, right? We have implicit biases in when is something affecting us. That's
Yeah.
pretty hard, and we do still our eye for eye type of thing, because historically we as spirits, I'm not saying about this existence, all previous lives we've been growing in this idea that we have right, we have to seek for justice, right? But then the question is if we are seeking for justice or vengeance,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Most of the time is the vengeance is there, right? Like it's just kind of like we put like just a makeup of justice, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a makeup. Yeah, for
And we
sure.
need to remember that God is always like with us, right? Like in the spirits, they are always kind of guiding us. And if we are passing through some situations that required us to kind of like step down and think about it, right? It's because we need to, like, nothing that happens to us, it's by randomly,
Yes.
so we need to trust that it's for the best, and that we have to kind of, like you were saying, right? Analyze and recognize the feelings, but then try to work on that. Because what I feel sometimes is that we can't just not feel, but then with the knowledge and with the studying, right, we will
Mhm.
be able to analyze that feeling and kind of starts, like you said, maybe changing that thought to a better one,
To
right?
a better one. Yes, yes. I understand that it's a test for us, right? It's
Hmm.
not that we have to test other people, it's for us. So everything we go through, it is a trial
Hmm.
that to see if we really learned. Because it's easy to love one another if everything is nice, right? Everybody
Easy.
around me is loving people, right? It's better than me. But that doesn't really test if we have learned the lesson. So God, at a certain moment, will put us some challenges to
Hmm.
test if we learned, right?
Yeah.
So we should actually feel good that if we go through the difficulties to in the relationships with other people, because it shows that God is putting us on to test, because we are probably in time to try, right? And
Hmm.
to respond, because God is not going to give us an exam that we are certainly going to fail.
Yeah.
No, it's just testing and things that we can get a good a good mark, right? A good score, or you can do things right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Veronica, one more time for everything that you said this night and the teachings, the lessons. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks, everyone. Bye bye.
And thank you all for the participating on the chat with us. And now we are going to move on to the preparation for tonight's spiritual treatment. So, what is the spiritual treatment? So, PES is the transfusion of spiritual energy with the goal of assisting with our physical, emotional, and mental balance. PES help us to restore a state of harmony and peace by replacing negative energy with healthy and positive energy. In order to receive the best benefits from PES, please follow the audio instructions or remain in prayer. You may also close your eyes to help with mentalization. And during the PES, the water that you set aside will also absorb the spiritual energy that your family and you can benefit from. And we will now make a prayer in preparation for the PES, which will be also our closing prayer. So let's close our eyes once again and mentalize our Master Jesus. Master Jesus, we would like to thank you for one more night that we could spend learning a little bit more about Spiritism and about your teachings. May we be able to look into our inner selves and to try to put into practice the teachings that were presented today. We also would like to thank you for all the benefits that the spiritual treatment will bring to us and to our family. And we ask your protection for the week that we still have ahead. And we trust that you will stay with us today and always. So be it.
Let us now prepare ourselves for the moment of the passes and the magnetization of water. Let's now calm our hearts, breathing in and out. Pay attention to your body. Focus on your breath and let yourself be carried by this energy. Let your thoughts pass by without judging them. Let them flow. Allow this light to be the beacon that guides you, and allow these words to penetrate your energy. Make each word an anchor of gratitude, faith, and trust. With the purpose of healing, which takes away my faith, healing every feeling of separation, of pain, let it all dissolve in this moment, leaving only love, gratitude, and trust. We ask God for the presence of our guardian angel and the friendly spirits who welcome us into this enlightened environment of our Spiritist Center. We open our plexus of love and forgiveness by mentalizing a light surrounding our hearts. Find a quiet and comfortable place to begin the mentalization process. Remove all worries from your thoughts. We ask that during the pass you breathe slowly and deeply. Let your body relax and surrender yourself to a deep meditation. Calmly imagine divine energies in soft and colorful light surrounding you in an environment of peace and spiritual warmth. Entrusting God with your most intimate desires, raise your thoughts to Jesus and the emissaries of the spiritual environment. The pass begins with the cleansing of your soul. Imagine a waterfall of crystal clear water pouring over us, removing all the feelings that keep you away from faith and trust. Feel the energy of this water bathing you and deeply breathe in, feeling peace and harmony. Allow this water to wash away all the impurities and spiritual larvae, washing away all the sorrows and resentments, any feelings of hatred and revenge that hold us back and cause us harm, not only from this life, but past ones as well. Now visualize spiritual doctors around you, applying magnetic cleansing passes, sanitizing your spiritual body of all sadness and negative energy. Mentalize these negative thoughts and feelings being washed away, evaporating from your soul, like water evaporating into thin air, and being carried far away from your mind. Surround yourself with the faith that bathes your being, bringing clarity and lucidity, rebalancing every cell in your body. May the water envelop all pain and bring the clarity of opportunity that chooses peace. The answer arises in our hearts, freeing us from all evil and freeing all whom we have caused evil into and who have caused us evil, washing away all the connections that bind us. Even though we may not understand, we are freeing ourselves from all that causes us harm. Feel this cleansing penetrate your soul and release. Now that we are spiritually cleansed, imagine yourself surrounded by the light of love from the hands of Jesus. At this moment, sing words of faith and gratitude, being faithful to the light that exists in me, planted by the zealous Father. Imagine the sunlight that surrounds and enraptures, freeing us from the chains of everything that holds us down, strengthening your faith. Allow yourself to trust in this light, surrender to it, involved in pleasant feelings and feeling relieved to receive the strengthening lights. Mentalize your spiritual mentors now applying divine light for the strengthening of your mind and your emotions, leaving you feeling emotionally revitalized. Let us now mentalize the magnetization of this water. May we mentalize all the friendly spirits, magnetizing this water and filling it with everything that our bodies, minds, and soul need, so that it may be of help to us when we drink it after the Pass. Thank you, God.
Thank you all for joining us tonight. We will be back next Tuesday here on Spiritism Canada and Continental Concafras Americas at 8:30 p.m. East, and next Wednesday on Kardec Radio at 8 p.m. East. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube from the Spiritism Canada and Spiritist group Paths of Light. Have a good night.
Come on, my friend, come to the light. Here with all our heart and soul, let's follow Jesus Christ. Let us preach the peace, let us preach the love. And this world already wonderful will be much more. Get up, look at the sky, in the earth where the flowers bloom with sunshine. Let's hold our hands and be together on this road. Then we take this peace and love and spread it to the world. Good vibes, laughter and shout outs, show it